I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy that the First Lady invited me and invited us to be part of this. It's an extraordinary experience. I love women and girls. It's the main thing I care about, and I love to meet as many women and girls as I can. Um, so, uh, so I grew up in this funny little town in Massachusetts. Um, it's not on on Cape Cod, but it wishes it was. So they call it the gateway to Cape Cod, but really it's like a crummy town you have to drive through to get to the good parts. Um, but evidently, when I was 3, I announced to my parents that I wanted to be an actor. Um, and maybe I'll explain why I say actor, because the definition of actor in the dictionary, if you look it up, is a person who acts. So that's already both. And we don't need the little, 'cause people used to say things like poetess and authoress and things like that. So I drop off that little part. I consider myself a former waiter who is now an actor. Um, so I told my parents at 3 that that's what I wanted to do. I have no idea what I possibly could have seen at that age to make me want to do that. But I stuck with it, although I kept it kind of secret. And uh, when when it came time to decide on where to go for college, I went to our music teacher, who was kind of my mentor, and said, you know, where would you go to study acting? And he's like, oh, well, BU, I think, is a very good program. I was like, okay, I'm going to BU. That was my only choice, you know, because that's all I wanted to do. Um, and oh, you know, you reminded me of something that's so important that I've only discovered as time has gone on, that when I was a freshman in high school, I mean, I was always like the tallest kid in the class and really geeky, and I made my own clothes and stuff. And I just wanted to be somebody else. And you know, suddenly you enter high school and you see the seniors, just like, oh my God, they're so glamorous and fabulous and cool, and people look up to them, and I can't wait. In just only 4 years, I'm gonna be like that. And then I was a senior, I'm like, what happened? I'm the same dorky kid. I can't believe this. I'm the same. But the thing is, you always are. You know, the other thing I fantasized about was New Year's Eve, 1999, you know, the turn of a century. I'll be 44. What will I be like then? What will I wear to the New Year's Eve party? And, you know, I had this whole vision of myself with a cocktail in my hand or something. And it got to be New Year's Eve, and I'm 44, and I'm like, I'm still the same person. It's amazing. You know, because all my life, you know, I saw people older than me as something other than me. And, you know, they've become something else. They're not what I am, but they're not. All your parents and your grandparents and everybody is still feels like the same person on the inside. My dad, when he was 95, I asked him, so do you feel like this old guy, or are you like, hey, I'm the same? And he's like, I feel totally like, hey, I'm still the same guy, which is just, it floors me. Anyway, that's important to keep in mind. So I go to BU. Thankfully, I get in, and the first class is kind of an orientation. There's a room like this. There's about 100 freshmen coming in, and the professor is kind of giving us a welcome and an introduction. And he says, you know, I must tell you, you have chosen probably the most difficult occupation ever to get into. And probably, to be honest, only maybe 1% of you will ever be able to earn your living as an actor. And I went, oh, these poor kids. I swear to God, I was like, oh, well, obviously it's all them that aren't gonna be. You know. I had such unshakable faith that this was gonna happen, and that, you know, it's an incredibly powerful quality to have, is this faith, like Abby was talking about, that I can do this, I will do this. I'm terrified, I don't know quite how it's gonna happen, but I can do this. And I I was too dumb when I graduated. I wanted to be in movies, but I didn't realize I should go to LA. I went to New York instead, and then I'm like, how am I supposed to get in a movie? So I had this very brilliant idea. I decided that, because there were a bunch of models that were getting parts in movies at that time, supermodels and stuff. I'll become a model, and then they'll ask me to be in movies. Because, it's so easy to become a supermodel. So that's what I did. I tried that. There were 5 top agencies, and the first one said, you're too old and too tall, because I said that I was 22 and 6 feet. And then I started taking off 1.5 years everywhere I went until I was 5'10", and 18. And that one said, great, you're fine. But the other thing to have, is an important quality that I found incredibly important, is to have tenacity, to not only believe in yourself and believe in your dreams, but keep at it and try different avenues. The modeling didn't really work out in that way. But thank God I didn't become a supermodel, because that's totally weird. I was on one cover of a magazine. It was New Jersey Monthly. My face didn't show. Had a hat. That's my one claim to fame. But mentors have always been incredibly important in my life, from my music teacher. Do you have girls' chorus or anything? Well, it would be girls' chorus. In school you do have. Yeah, that's what I was doing. Because there's other people, there's another influence that is, without your knowledge, mentoring you in a very negative way, and that's the media. The barrage of images that women get, and girls, about what they should look like, who they should be, what's the proper way to be and look, is overwhelming. There's research that shows the more hours of television a girl watches, the fewer options she believes she has in life. So my daughter is 8 years old. When she was about 2, I started watching G-rated movies and things like that with her. And I was horrified to see that the same kind of gender imbalance. You've all noticed there's far fewer parts for women, right, in TV shows and movies and things. There's just far fewer women, as we well know. But it's the same in what we're showing the littlest kids from the very beginning. So this got me to thinking, what is my daughter seeing? She's learning this lesson that girls have less value because there's fewer of them, and the way they're depicted is so narrow. So I ended up forming a research institute to examine how women and girls are portrayed in children's films. And the results were really stunning. Far fewer parts for female characters, far too much stereotyping. The number one aspiration for female characters was finding romance, which is almost no male character's ultimate goal. The most common occupation was royalty. Nice gig, if you can get it. And very few other kinds of occupations, professional occupations. So since then, we've now studied 20 years of films from 1990 to 2010, and in ratings G, PG, and PG-13. And across all of those films, for all of those years, there's been no improvement whatsoever, and the depictions of girls are the same. So this is all we saw when we were kids. We only saw movies and shows that were dominated by male characters. So from when kids are really little, we're giving them the message, boys are more important. Boys do the fun things. Boys, there's more of them. And you take it in. What do you know? You're 2 years old and you're watching this. And it's an unconscious message that each of us is taught. So what I would encourage you to do is see this, recognize it, and take away the power that it has. Once you know about it, you can, like, for example, you could count the characters in some of the things you see. Now that you think about it, when you're watching something, you say, hey, wait a minute, where are all the female characters? Why is there one lead female and then no other females in the movie? And just become aware of it. Like with my daughter, I talk about it all the time. We're watching something and I say, hey, why isn't there a girl in that group, or what, or half of them female, or which character would you rather be? She'd rather be Harry Potter than Hermione, because Harry Potter gets to do cooler stuff. But now it's to the point where we're watching something and I say, hey, she said, yeah, I know, not enough girls. Yep. I got it. Anyway, that's my message to you, is to focus on the real life mentors that you have, the people you actually know, your teachers and parents and other adults that are influencing you. That's the most important thing, because the message that society wants to send you is really toxic, and you need to step away from that and say, I'm not accepting that. I know who I am. I feel great about myself. And you're not going to narrow me down to this very, very limited vision that movies and TV have about you. Thank you.